I want to give you just a little bit of background about this trip. Many of you are probably familiar with Porter-Gaud. Porter-Gaud founded back in 1867 as an Episcopal school. Our spiritual and outreach mission has always been part of who we are as a school. The oldest student organization at Porter-Gaud is the Vestry, and that group is composed of students who are interested in trying to go deeper in their spiritual life, and so they commit to meet together weekly by grade level in small discipleship groups and to assist me with the spiritual life of the school. And these four guys were all part of our 9th grade vestry last year, and over the course of the year we thought about trying to do something a little bit different. Porter-Gaud does do service and mission trips, but they're usually oriented toward older students. We decided to try to do one oriented toward younger students that would more impact the time that they spend in our upper school community, but to limit that to a small group of students, to ask them not only to participate, but to also help raise a lot of the money for the trip, rather than just having a check written for them. We also were going to ask them to secure a group of people who would partner in prayer for them during the trip. And we called Molly and described to her what we were interested in, and she immediately thought of Honduras, and then also said, one of the things we would love is to try to get the guys to journal and to reflect about their experience as they go through this, so that we can kind of capture that experience and share it with other people. So we went off-road in the Water Missions trucks, which were packed up, and we went off-road up into the mountains. It was very exciting. It was very beautiful, lush, verdant scenery. So we're sort of on the edge, and behind us is the village that we're going to, the village of San Jose. And in that village, it was almost like going back to the Stone Age. People are living in thatched huts. There are no vehicles, there's no electricity, there's no plumbing, there's none of that. There's just this village that's gathered together. This is their home. The family with their 10 children lives here, and they have no latrine. There's one latrine that the whole village shares. They've had a lot of issues with sickness in this village. And so part of our goal was to help build a latrine here. The septic tank part of it had already been built, and our goal was to build the shelter around the latrine. So we're going to look at some of the steps of that. You can see it coming together here. And I just want to add, I was so excited that this is what we were doing, because the itinerary said mold and latrines. And I thought we were cleaning mold out of dirty latrines. And so this was a big step up. So we were putting these panels together. The guys were having a really great bilingual experience because Sam, raise your hand, Sam. Sam is fluent in Spanish, and he was really helpful in making sure we understood what we needed to do if we didn't quite get it. So here you can see there's a horse with big bags on it. As we were starting on the latrine mold, there are a lot of moving parts going on here. The villagers are taking the horse down to the river at the bottom of the hill, gathering sand out of the river, loading it into bags that are loaded on the horse, and brought up to where we are going to mix the concrete in a little bit. And, this is where we were staying that night. Honduras is famous for its hammocks, so the guys had hammocks. The only problem that we discovered is when we started stringing them on the beams, what happened? They creaked, and then what did they do? They looked like they were going to fall, and the beams started to separate from the wall. So we're like, okay, we really don't want the church to fall on us. So we strategically used our Porter-Gaud education to figure out about weight and balance, and we distributed the hammocks around to balance the weight. And then you can see those two lovely plastic-wrapped mattresses. I got to put those on the floor, and I slept on that. And the Water Mission staff, some were in hammocks, some were on the floor. And Edward had a close encounter with a what? A bat. There was a bat flying around at night. That was very exciting. And then so after that, we went out to dig the septic tank for a latrine. It is about 98 today. This is hard clay, so it's being dug with a pickaxe. The villager came and got it about 3 feet deep, and then we took over. Part of what we also had to do is we had to then break up what was dug out because it was so hard that it would have just left a mountain in these people's garden. So we were working a lot on that. We discovered the right tools are really important. We found a great hoe that made this a lot easier. You can see the holes getting deeper. The guys are taking turns with the pickaxe and the shovel digging. And we kept at that for about 4 or 5 hours in the sun. So we got good and tired. And you can see it's making significant progress there. And we have a prayer time. And here, Hector asked me to give a little speech. And he was translating for me. The woman with the white hair is the community leader for water missions. They have community leaders in a lot of these towns that help coordinate their work. She was terrific, so hospitable, so warm and generous, and so unbelievably grateful that we had come to her. Randolph, what was on that board behind us there?
It was the flow chart of all the steps that go into community assessment and all the steps that lead up to installing either a water system or whatever the project of the village is. And, it was just really cool to see. You don't realize really how long, I mean, actually probably a lot of staff do, but I didn't realize how big and long the process was. That goes on for another 8 feet or so.
Yeah.
And there's dozens of steps, and the very last thing is installation of a water system or a treatment program. So water missions is really involved in every place that they go.
Yeah. But the other thing that's interesting is about every mile and a half, you're stopped at a security checkpoint where there are soldiers in fatigues with shotguns. It's a little intimidating, but being with the water missions people, there's a huge amount of respect for water missions. We were just waved through every time. A group that has its roots, I think, back in the 17th century there. And they have their own culture and architecture, and it's very interesting because it looked like some of the West African links that we see with the Low Country. So they were getting their first water system, and they were so unbelievably excited. And so Edward Gilbreth became our electrician. He was connecting up all of the power and wiring. Randolph was working with a chisel, chiseling through concrete for some of the plumbing. Some of the other guys were helping to dig out. And that white pipe is the source that the water is coming from. And when they cut that pipe off, what came out? Green water and sludge. Handcrafted wrought iron gate for this tap that this guy has welded as we've been watching. And this is right across from the bus stop. Hector said this will literally increase by 8,000 people the number of people that can get water.
Leaving home, it's really crazy to look back on everything we did and everyone we met in a short few days. It was interesting to see the difference between villages, how people reacted and just cared about their daily lives. I love seeing the reaction when the people first saw clean water. That was the village with the yellow water and the green glop. And people really didn't know what to do. It wasn't anything they'd ever seen before. It was just really cool to see how overjoyed people were with something that was so simple as clean water. And that's something I've had every single day of my life. And these kids were 15, 16 years old. An 80-year-old in the village had never seen this clean water before. It really makes you value how much you have at home and how simple something like clean water is, but how big of an effect it has on the day-to-day lives of these people.
When we started up the system, it took 30 minutes to wait for the water to purify, and then we had a celebration. We filled up everyone's water buckets with clean water, and when it ended, I got to spray everyone with the water hose. I met a few boys named Christopher, Miguelito, Risto, and Carlos, and we all played games with them in my group, after which we ate dinner at the local restaurant and came back to watch a movie with them. I got to help Christopher with his English, though it was a little bit limited because he didn't have very many resources, and he asked me about questions from the United States. What surprised me was that this community was so much more social than San Jose, and the kids were very friendly.
This mission trip really opened my eyes to the world and the problems that there are around the world and the privileges that we have at home. And really this is I don't really think that I could have said it much more perfectly, because these people never had water. They were overjoyed to see water. At home, we would never think to stop and take a picture with ourselves having a glass of water in our hand, because all we have to do is walk downstairs and turn on the tap. And these people walk miles and miles just to see the first clean water that they've ever seen in their entire lives.
After we set up the system, the people ended up throwing a party for us. It made me think of how fortunate we were to live in where we can just get clean water, and it's so easy. And the most moving part of that was he showed us a picture. He pulled up 2 glasses. One was just, clean water, and then the other one was yellow, and it had a bunch of muck in it, and it was just really cool to see.
We say that Water Missions is in the business of transforming lives. And the lives that y'all transformed in those villages, when we talk of transformation, that's actually a biblical term. And we speak of transformation in the physical sense by providing access to clean water. But we also are providing an access to have lives transformed eternally. As I listen to y'all talk in your story, I think that 4 young men's lives were transformed also. And that's the beauty of God's economy. Y'all have had an opportunity to see a part of the world that you wouldn't have otherwise seen. And you've had an opportunity to be the hands and feet of Jesus. And that's actually the way Jesus ministered when he walked the earth. He reached out to help people with their physical needs. And as their physical needs were met, their spiritual needs were met. So I'm just, I think we're all excited to see how God works and how God's working in your life. We thank you for all you've done. You've been blessed to be a blessing. And we thank you for sharing your story with us. There are other people who would like to hear that story, so I hope you'll share it with others. Thank y'all so much for sharing all your story with us.
Thank you.